Hello, everybody, and welcome back to our limited series where we talk about key themes from a recently published reality check report. Full Story's reality check report uncovers how today's top brands are using AI, personalization, and data to stay ahead. I'm your host, Kelsey Winarski, Technical Product Marketing Manager here at Full Story. Last episode, we talked about data, but more importantly, how data is becoming a bit of a mess. And today, we're going to talk about how that naturally impacts AI and the lack of confidence around it. We're joined by Tony. Tony, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're super happy to have you.
Thanks for having me. This is great. Can't wait to chat.
If you don't mind, tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm Tony. I'm one of the product managers here at Full Story and been at Full Story for almost 3 years now, based out of Chicago, and really excited for our conversation.
Tony, before we dive in, I thought it'd be fun to start with a corny joke. Are you ready
Perfect.
for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I thought we'd do a corny joke based on today's theme, AI. And I thought, what better way to do that than have AI write the joke itself? So I asked ChatGPT to give me a dad joke about AI. I'm just going to go for it.
Perfect.
So why did the AI break up with its algorithm?
Mm. I couldn't tell you.
It's because it found somebody less complicated. But
Nice.
tis.
Perfect. Love it.
Thank you for humoring me.
I love it. Bring on the dad jokes.
Sweet. So before diving into all the nitty gritty, I was curious, when you read the report, did anything jump out at you? Did anything give you a reality check?
The finding that almost 60% or so of our respondents indicated that they have seen significant growth in the usage of AI, but only 13% indicated that that usage is extensive was really eye opening. I think a lot of times we jump straight to how to use the technology. Like what are the barriers to actually implementing it and to like getting really tactical right up front. But I believe that one of the biggest obstacles to implementing AI and building it out in your product, in your portfolio, to help drive better outcomes for your business, all of those are really mapped back to a clear strategic vision for what that future state of the world needs to be. What imagined future, what possible future are you really excited about and is worth going after? And then you can kind of back into what the solutions might be that help you to get there. So having that clear understanding and then backing into what do we need to do is one of the challenges of this moment. It's a leadership challenge. It is a clarity of vision challenge. We start with that problem and then we kind of go to some of the others. We know that, especially in an organization, larger organization, some of these implementation challenges include having to work with and integrate with legacy systems. There's infrastructure challenges that may not be set up there or like available yet. There's also some skill challenges. All of these pose a challenge to adopting AI and really using AI to drive the outcomes that everyone is excited about.
Yeah, I really love that approach of trying to understand future state and then come up with a solution. I know that myself, if I learn about a shiny new tool like I want to use it and kind of make that fit, but that might not be the puzzle piece that I need. It's just kind of like adding more technical debt on, it's adding more workload. You have to train your people, you have to have those integrations, you have to onboard it properly, train it properly with good data. As we know, we have to have good data to train AI on. And that's a whole mess. And so I think that really stepping back and evaluating that big picture is key
Mm.
there. And I really like that approach.
Yeah, that actually, like, that's a really wonderful connection because when you talk about the incentives between individuals working on experimenting with and creating a culture of experimentation in their company, that is sometimes in tension with some of the risk tolerance of the organization itself. Especially if it is, if you've ever seen those diagrams where you make a connection between increasing numbers of people, the lines are just, there are so many connections to be thinking about, and there are so many technologies, so much impact that can happen. So the more applications, the more tools that you hook this up to, the greater the potential impact. And so the risk tolerance of individuals is a bit different than the risk tolerance of organizations overall, because there's just more to consider.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, if you're connecting all those systems, it is important to consider that risk tolerance. I'm curious, what are some soft skills that you think are essential for success in an AI driven workplace? How can companies foster these skills in their existing workforce?
When we think about those soft skills, there's someone that I follow, Cassie Kozyrkov, former chief decision scientist at Google, says that leadership is a technical input when we're thinking about artificial intelligence, machine learning, because it requires the person who's determining and defining what that outcome is to also define ahead of time, not after you've built the thing and you have loss aversion, but ahead of time, what it means for you to move forward with this solution, what it means for it to be successful. And so, in the world of AI proliferation, great decision making and great leadership are not less important. They are more important. Those skills are vital to not only the success of the projects that we're working on, but the success of the organization, the success of any of these initiatives that you'll be launching. So when we think about that, like leadership is a huge, huge technical input. We're going to be gonna need to see an increase in data literacy. So what does it mean to blend your qualitative and quantitative data? What does it mean for that information, that data, to turn into an insight that is then driving a decision that then leads you to take an action? Those are really important steps. And so when we talk about these soft skills of moving from information to action, those transitions are really important to nail down and to get right.
Yeah, it's like you listened to our last episode on data. We talked a lot about how data literacy is a really important skill. And I think as a collective in this AI driven world, it's something that the humans really need to focus on because AI can splice and dice and do a million things with data that we wouldn't be able to do so quickly. But if we're not able to make sense of that, if we're not able to keep that human touch, be able to use that data, read it, understand it, use it to make those really important decisions, it's worthless in a way because you have all this data, but again, what do you do with it? What kind of insights are you using? What kind of insights are you getting from it? So I think data literacy first and foremost is super important. And again, I think it goes back to keeping that human touch on AI, where AI can do a lot of those repetitive tasks. It can crunch numbers, it can go through data really quickly, but it's a tool to assist us to be able to do those higher creative, higher power, higher, more functioning tasks, right? Where you have to make that decision. AI can recommend a bunch of suggestions for your business, but at the end of the day, I don't think a CEO would want to pass all business decisions on to AI, right? So very
Yeah.
important there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really gets at, I think, one of the challenges in building these AI systems, specifically with generative AI. You have this diverging pattern where it's generating many options, many things that could be good, could be true, could work out. And when it comes to decision making, really what you're trying to do is come into a converging pattern. And so AI can assist with a lot of that diverging pattern. And maybe some discriminative models and traditional models could assist in some of that converging as well. But the ultimate convergence, the decision still lies with the human being. It still lies with a person who's taking responsibility for what this system is doing.
Yeah. When you were talking about this, I thought of that human decision. CEO might want to make a really critical decision about if they're going to continue a product or not. AI can provide all that information, but at the end of the day, you want to go with that human feeling and that human touch to make sure you're making those decisions that are right for you. AI can assist, but again, that human touch is critical.
Yeah. And these models are fantastic. They excel in finding the patterns in data in order to draw those out. And they're going to be able to, in finding those patterns, provide an analysis or an evaluation that might be exceedingly difficult for us as people. But each of these roles has its own place. The model doing its thing where it is strong, humans doing our thing where we're strong, and bringing these together and not asking each one to do the other one's job. So, augmentation is really the goal here. Automation ends up bringing other risks, right? You're, again, giving this machine the ability to take action at that machine scale. The responsibility goes really like up the ladder here. So for that leadership, for those leaders who are making decisions for the organization, super important for them to have that clarity of mind and vision for where they want to go.
Yeah, definitely. I think you said it best. You're talking about that augmentation, right? Where we're not trying to do each other's jobs. I know when people talk about AI, a common fear is it's going to take my job. And I think that it's about using our skills. So using that human touch, that decision making, and things like that, what humans excel at, but then also combining it with AI's power to be able to look at vast amounts of data, find those patterns, do that analysis. So then we're able to make a decision together. It's like a dream team there versus trying to fight with each other.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great way to put it. That collaboration, that working together. And we're still early in this relationship, right? We're still figuring out what does it mean for me to play my role and the machine to play its role.
Yeah. You talked about this a little bit, and I want to dive in. A lot of people are using AI to do repetitive tasks, things that they don't want to do. However, AI can do so much more. And so, how can companies leverage AI for predictive analysis to gain a competitive advantage?
I think we index on using AI for some of those lower risk tasks because of the inherent fundamental structure of generative AI and the way that it is today has its own risks with making things up over time or the compounding effect if you are going with agents, the compounding effect of the margin of error for each baton pass, each moment when it is making a new call, getting a new response, the error rate can kind of compound over time. And so I think when we're talking about the adoption of AI for predictive analytics, I think we're best suited or best served when this model is helping us to look at some of those customer needs. So, again, looking at the data, qualitative, quantitative, behavioral data, and drawing out some of those latent patterns that we may not be able to see quite readily. And then to help us to diverge on a pattern of opportunities that could help us to serve customers better, then to start not just understanding what did happen, but based on what has happened in the past, anticipate customers' needs, look forward to that, help us to set up actions, triggers, contexts that will help us to meet our customers' needs before they know that they need it. And then from there, really start to drive the operational efficiency of those kinds of models, that kind of decision making.
Yeah, it sounds like trying to use AI to become more proactive versus reactive. We're able to anticipate those needs and provides a much better customer experience too, right? Because if AI can predict maybe I want to buy this product or maybe I might have this problem because customers have had this problem in the past, it can automatically swoop in.
Yeah, I mean, first principles, think about the difference between the world's constant changing and evolving and just having to react and respond to it all the time. That's fine. And that's like kind of the world that we're coming from. Everything is changing pretty quickly and it's really hard to look forward. But the goal is not always to be in a position where the world it's doing its thing, changing and evolving over time, and that we're just in reaction mode or response mode. What we want to do is to identify what action we can take in the present in order to help to change and shift the trajectory of the future. These models can help us to take the action that will help direct our future in the direction that we really want to. And for companies and the customers that they serve, the goal is really to understand what future those customers are imagining for themselves. What do they want out of that future? What are they aspiring to? What new version of themselves or their company or their own customer base are they imagining and hoping for? And then how can we anticipate that so that we can get ahead, take the action in the present? That's the real goal. Like, that's the win.
Definitely. I would love to talk about some successful examples of AI. We learned from our report that companies with advanced AI capabilities report 2 times the impact on user engagement and operational efficiency. What are some of the most inspiring examples that you've seen, and what lessons can other businesses learn from them?
Learning from others is huge. Yeah, seeing the examples that others have put forward can really help us to develop our own confidence in trying things out, developing a culture of experimentation. Look what they did. That can be really exciting. So I think on the user customer engagement kind of side, we have really three themes here. You have like tailoring and guiding the end user's experience and using AI to help you to like guide and tailor that dynamically. Tailoring some resolutions. So if there are customer issues or problems, tailoring those to the context and the situation at hand, and then tailoring recommendations, particularly product recommendations for those customers. On the operational efficiency side, you're going to see things like data analysis and access that's going to be automated, automating some of the time consuming process for particularly complex but well defined processes, and then empowering scalability of these solutions, and particularly building some of the infrastructure that helps to foster the innovative experimentation that we've been talking about. So, again, on the user and customer engagement side, we could look at a like travel company, for example, who had an AI assistant who is supporting guests while they were booking. There's a beverage retailer who is helping customers to select and find wines that really fit their own particular preferences. So, just great examples of guiding that user experience dynamically, given who that person is and what they've maybe done before on your site or your app. Technology retailer had recently streamlined some customer service by troubleshooting product problems and issues and helping to automatically reschedule delivery. That was a really fantastic application of tailoring a resolution to the issue that was at hand and doing that at scale. For tailoring recommendations, there was a large online marketplace that was improving product discovery and the discoverability of products that would be relevant for a particular person through AI powered product recommendations. That would be a lot more challenging if you're just waiting for someone to find what they're looking for, find something that they might be interested in, have to search for it. Instead, what if we could serve that up to them right away, knowing this is probably going to be relevant for you? This is probably going to be important for what it is that you're doing. Again, you have to evaluate these things, these models as you go to determine how well you're serving those use cases. But these can be really, really powerful for the business. And that turns out in what we found in the report about these same companies having twice the impact that companies who are not really leveraging this are seeing. On the operational efficiency side, paper goods company and an energy provider who had both transposed natural language queries into structured queries. And that really helps to improve the speed to insight that we talked about. So you've got a whole bunch of data and information. We know that when you go online, tons of information. There's no shortage of data that's out there. What we're struggling to get out of that information and out of that data is insight. And so, if you can democratize that insight finding, people who don't know how to write SQL queries and how to like structure a particular like funnel analysis or retention analysis, you can help those same people who have those questions, who would make decisions based on that information. You can help them to move faster, to get to that insight faster, and therefore maybe their decision and action faster. So you've got some operational efficiencies that are happening there. Insurance companies who are automating claims processing, that process may be well defined, but is tedious or time consuming, just takes a lot of manual attention. And you can have models build out and take action for you. And then have you as the human review some of those actions to ensure that they're being done in a way that meets those like high quality standards. And last, a manufacturer who had built an AI platform to help their employees build some of their own solutions to the problems that they were facing. Instead of these employees waiting on some centralized team or having to build some of this out themselves from the ground up, they're instead building on a solid foundation that helps them to get to value and to their solution faster because now they're autonomous. Now they don't have to wait on anybody. And so these are all like really powerful examples of using AI, using machine learning to drive some of that user and customer engagement, based on behavioral data, based on other information that's in your company's databases or other tools, and some of that operational efficiency, improving data access and analysis, automating those time consuming processes, and empowering scalability of that culture of experimentation that you really do want to foster.
Those are some really great examples. And I first want to touch upon you talking about this culture of discovery and being curious. I think that a lot of people are really afraid to fail. And so if trying things out doesn't work once, they're very opposed to it. And I think that having that culture where you can try things, you can fail. What did you learn? Okay, we learned that. It wasn't a waste of time. Now let's try this is super powerful and really allows companies to try new things that otherwise might have been shut down because people think that it wouldn't automatically work. So I definitely see the value there. And also, I like how you talked about how it's good to look and learn from others. I think that some people they don't want to be seen as copycats. However, each company is different. And just because a company is doing this one way doesn't mean it will work the same for you, right? Their data is different, their whole setup is different. And so, again, trying to be creative, try different things, and learning from that is really, really important. The core theme for all your examples was really empowering, whether it's empowering your customer to make decisions and buy products, empowering your workforce to be able to create their own solutions. I love that manufacturing example where they were able to create those solutions. I've been at companies where you wait for a company to buy something to fix it and it never happens, right? It's not
Yep.
the budget this quarter. So you just continue to suffer through your problems, or you have a really weird way to do something and it doesn't really work, but it's just what you have to do to limp along. And so being able to use AI again to empower those people to make better decisions is, I think, really the key and the power of how we can use AI to again collaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you called out the value of curiosity, because that curiosity is it's such a deep value, and having the curiosity as a recovering perfectionist, at the risk of being too personal, as a recovering perfectionist, it's fantastic that I've spent so much time in product now, where you have to put things out into the world that are not perfect. They're not like, you can't spend forever tinkering and making it exactly the way that you want. It is okay to put something out there and to learn that it didn't work. It's okay to try something and fail. In fact, if you can develop the appetite, and if you can foster a kind of joy even around finding out that you're wrong about something, that can be a really, really fun process. And I think that that's what I would love to invite more and more people into, is the joy, the fun of experimenting and trying things out. This is all so nascent. A lot of this, like a lot of what we're seeing these models, the problems that we're seeing these models applied to, especially with generative AI, are so nascent. We can experiment, we can try things. Of course, we do want to be mindful of any risks that we might incur. That's part of that leadership decision making, is carefully weighing those risks and taking responsibility for those risks. But when you start as an individual or as a company to try things, we don't know, you don't know, so let's try it out, let's see how it turns out, and we'll see if it creates the kind of value that we want. Let's test it out. I think inviting one another on that journey can be a really exciting and empowering thing. So getting curious, having fun with the experimentation, learning together, being mindful and responsible, and taking accountability, all can go together in this exploration that we're find ourselves in the middle of, in this burgeoning field of AI, and specifically generative AI.
The recovering perfectionist in me is scared to hear these things about try, but be excited to fail. But I am also excited to hear that because I think that not enough people talk about that. You see the success stories, you see the big brands, and you just assume they got it right. They're on top because they got it right and they were right all the time, and that's why they're there. That's not the case. These companies were curious, they experimented, and they learned quickly from their failures. It's okay to fail, but I think that being brave and curious enough to then dive in and say, okay, why did this not work? oh, the market wasn't ready for this. This didn't work for my customer. Okay, I've learned from that. I'm able to quickly pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of our conversation about technology can get, again, like wrapped up in the specifics of the technology. And I'm a firm believer that so much of our conversation about technology is actually a conversation about who we are as humans and how we work as humans. And I'm particularly, even in our conversation, as we've been talking, I found myself like guilty of using overly anthropomorphic language for something that is actually just math and a machine. And so there's not like an inner world for these things. There is a predicting of distributions and making a choice and doing that repeatedly over and over again. And what I love about identifying what it is about us that we can get curious about by understanding more deeply what these machines do and how we hire them for jobs to help us to get to a future state that we want for ourselves or for others, that can be a really wonderful journey of self discovery as well. And so I love humanizing the work around technology and building technology and evaluating technology. At the end of the day, it is deeply human work.
Tony, thank you so much for joining me. I really enjoyed our conversation and getting to know you, but also about how important it is to really stay human in this world of AI, the importance of blending and that collaboration. So, thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you and share what it is that we've been finding and hearing, and encourage people to go out there and try it out, see what comes of it, and be a mindful, good, clear decision maker about what it is, what kind of future you want.
If you enjoyed this episode, please tune into our next episode where we're talking about personalization. You'll learn how important it is to really create a truly personalized customer experience. You don't want to miss it.